Thank you, Dan, for that great introduction, and it's great to be here tonight. Thank you all very much for coming. It's very nice of you to say nice things about me, Dan, but I think I need to start off with something of a confession, actually, because people say, don't they, that you politicians, you're all the same, you tell a pack of lies, you don't believe anything, and you always get it wrong. And I think, no, we're not like that. You know, most of us go into it for the right reasons and we want to do the right thing. But I have to admit, I think I told a pack of lies during the election campaign because I genuinely didn't believe we were going to get this referendum. I thought it was all a bit of a fudge. I thought it was a great campaigning tool that David Cameron was using, but I didn't really think he'd be called to deliver on it. And to be fair to me, I think some members of the Conservative Party didn't think he'd be called on to deliver it either. I don't think anyone really expected him to have the big majority he got, so I probably told a few porkies. However, I'm very glad that it turned out as it did and that we have got the referendum coming now, because it is, as Kate said, it really is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, or certainly a first-in-a-lifetime opportunity for, I guess, most of us in this room, and certainly for me. My last memory of the 1975 referendum, and I can just about remember it, although I was tiny, of course, was going with my mother to vote. And I'm very glad to say she voted to come out. She didn't vote to stay in, and of course she got that absolutely right. It was great to hear Kate talk about the reasons on the left of politics for leaving. Of course, in UKIP, we talk about leaving the EU all of the time, and sometimes people say we talk about very little else. So it's interesting that Kate's perspective is that this is something new for the Labour Party. Clearly, it's not something new for UKIP. It's something we've been talking about for the last 22 years, and of course, coming now, it is perhaps to fruition in this great opportunity we have for the referendum, which we have to win. We really have to win this. To misquote Dr. Spock, if we don't win it, it'll be life, folks, but not as we know it. I think it's bad enough now being in the European Union. Democracy is a great big issue for most of us, and it certainly is for me. You know, I strongly believe that the people who have power over us, the people who govern us, should be the people that we vote for, and the people that we should be able to vote out if they don't do the job that we put them into office to do. But of course, you've got the Eurocrats in Brussels on the gravy train who look to big companies when they want advice, and they don't look to the people of the nations of the European Union. And I want to claim that back. I think it's very important that we make sure that our Parliament in Westminster is the Parliament that's accountable to the people again. How much it costs to be in this club that we really don't need to be a member of. Our gross payments, £350 million every week. We could open, build, staff a brand new hospital for that money. Or net £10 billion last year, the cost of the entire GP services in Britain. And how's that money spent? Wasted. £140 million a year shuttling the Parliament from Brussels to Strasbourg every month to vote. You know, embassies all around the world, more than 30 diplomats in Mozambique, another 40 in Barbados, all those offices to furnish. The EU itself has admitted that it loses millions and millions to fraud. All that money that we could spend so much better here at home. And the interference. Well, I'm sure I don't need to tell you about that. Interfering in everything from whether or not we can have VAT on tampons, to telling recreational fishermen they can only catch one sea bass a day to try and preserve stocks, irrespective of the other damaging EU policies that are absolutely destroying our precious seas. Housework. Just a couple of weeks ago, the EU told us that men in our lives had to do more housework. Well, I said, there isn't a man in my life, and I said, I've asked Godfrey Bloom to come and clean behind my fridge, but he just won't do it. But it's about the very future of this country. I think if we stay in, eventually, I think we may very well just be the United Kingdom in name only, and we'll just be a regional part of a United States of Europe. How many of our values will we lose? We'll lose complete, perhaps, power to control our borders. We may even lose our currency. Yes, they say not, but you read the Five Presidents' report and it makes us feel very isolated as a non-Eurozone country. And eventually, I think, perhaps if we lose this referendum, it will be full steam ahead to full political and monetary union. And any British Prime Minister who tries to say otherwise will just They'll turn around and say, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Prime Minister, your people voted to stay in. You don't have a mandate to argue against us any longer. So we have to win. Not just because we have to escape from the grip of the European Union, but because life could be so much better out. We could have our democracy back. We could have the ability to become a global trading nation, negotiating our own trade deals again. We can keep our name, keep our sovereignty, keep our currency, keep our border controls, keep Great Britain and the United Kingdom. So, we have to start now. I know we don't know what the date is, but never waste a day. Carpe diem. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you can do, let's help win it together. This has got to be, I think, one of the biggest social and political movements that this country has ever seen, because it is the future of our very nation at stake. I think we are fighting for our survival. So get involved, make it big, and we can win this. So talk about it to your friends. Explode those myths when they come up. The myths on trade, the myth that we won't be able to trade if we're not a member of the European Union. Well, isn't it funny how the European Union can trade with India, with Japan, with Brazil, with China? Are they in the EU? It's very simple to explode myths like that. The myths about jobs. You'll lose 3 million jobs if we leave. No, jobs depend on trade, not on political union. Kate's already mentioned workers' rights, human rights. They're not going to disappear if we leave a club that wants to dictate to us on these issues. We might even be able to make them better. And you look at some of the great issues, like equal pay, for instance. We were doing that in Britain long before the European Union was. Animal welfare, we have a much stronger record on that than the European Union. So if you can, get out leafleting like some of us were doing earlier, not the lazy ones like me. And if you can't get out, stay in, write letters. Put some of the leaflets that are around in your Christmas cards even. Do what you can. Okay, I realise you could go too far, but it's just an idea. We must do what we can, and we must, absolutely must, try and win this referendum. We all love our country. I know we all love Europe. We hate the EU, and that's what we want to leave, and only that. Thank you.